Hello, this is Inside the Press Box with Sunil Sunder Raj for the Everyday Fan Sports. This morning, I'm happy to be speaking with Corey Gardner, recently an assistant coach and recruiting coordinator at Southern Wesleyan University. Once again, Corey, thanks for taking some time out to speak with me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad to be on and excited to talk today.
Hey, congrats on, I said, on your success as far as, being an assistant, coach, baseball coach, in college. Can you talk about, again, with your most recent stop here at Southern Wesleyan University and, what you were able to accomplish there, Corey?
Yeah, so coming down to Southern Wesleyan was a program that had historically been pretty successful. Kind of been in a little bit of a rough patch. As far as myself, I ran the hitting side and the offensive side of stuff. So this year we put together some of the best numbers they put together in school history. We hit just under 280 as a team. We also, grew exponentially in home runs, triples, doubles. Pretty much every offensive category took some kind of jump. We limited our strikeouts by a certain amount. So, overall it was a good year. It was exciting to see the guys kind of, grow.
That's great. Hey, just talk about the process with, being able to, land with Southern Wesleyan University here and just what made it the perfect fit for you, Corey.
Yeah, so I was down at the University of Rio Grande previously.
Mhm.
The assistant coach got promoted up to the interim, and so it just kind of worked out that he was looking for a hitting guy. Some guys that I've coached with, coached against, recommended me to him, and just kind of worked out that some of my past experiences were what he was looking for, and I got the opportunity to go down and join a beautiful location, central South Carolina. So the baseball in the South is nothing you can complain by any means, but so just kind of all of it worked out, and I got to do a lot of great things down there.
That's great. Hey, let's just talk about the preparation for a season and just, as I said, you worked with the offense and with the hitting, as I said, extensively. Just talk about that, what went into it, a daily schedule for you, just, from morning till night for you, Corey.
Yeah, so upon arrival, I tried to get as much video on my hitters as possible, just to kind of have something to break down. Over the years, I've kind of put together charts of different drill works, different swing paths, and things that I like to look at to talk with guys on.
Mhm.
And so having at the Division II level, we only had 17 hitters, so it kind of makes it a little bit easier on my job than some of the previous stops where we had over 30
Yeah.
hitters. But so basically, we kind of started out just breaking down some film, taking just kind of getting an idea of what we need to improve on individually, and then with that, we did a lot of individual work. We did a lot of during practice, getting cage work in, getting drill series in,
Yeah.
and then moving into the batting practice, segments. We did that all the way through the fall. Once that kind of concluded, we went into individual work, and then unfortunately we got to pack them up and send them on their way for Thanksgiving and Christmas break. So
Yeah.
we're kind of hands off. I put together an entire hitting program, basically that maps out every single kind of drill that I want them doing, what the drill concludes, or includes, what equipment is needed. And I sent that along with every single kid. Have mapped out how many swings I want them taking each day, everything. And then once we got back in January, it was hit the ground running, trying to include finish up any kind of preparations, and then it was mostly just getting as many reps and
Yeah.
as much live action as we could, just to kind of prepare for that opening weekend that comes February, the first weekend in February.
Yeah, no, it's tremendous. You said you have a firm blueprint, a set of what you expect out of the players. I'm wondering, when it comes to those practice and then in-game situations, where on the bench as far as talking, to the hitters. Can you just explain that as well and just talk about that, what those moments entail for you as well, Corey?
Yeah, especially so in game. I started the year out being right next to the dugout. Talking to hitters, pre-pitch, kind of, after at bats, things. The difference between a good hitter and a great hitter is being the adjustability. Good hitters are game to game. Great hitters are bat to bat, or even excellent hitters are pitch to pitch. So, the biggest thing is if somebody fooled us on pitch, at bat one, we wanted to figure out a way that they didn't fool us on a bat two.
Mhm.
So, we're talking, trying to eliminate pitches, what we can kind of look for, what kind of, cues we can use. As far as hitters, some guys like internal cues of like mechanical talk before they hit. Other guys like, external cues of finding somewhere on the fence and, trying to drive a baseball in the gap there. It's just kind of learning your team and learning your guys and, making sure that you can, communicate effectively with them to make sure that you set them up for the best success as far as in game. So the biggest thing that we wanted them to do is, talk through their swing as much as possible in practice. So that way, when it came to game time, they were ready to run and, they were able to feel some things where it wasn't even myself having to say anything. It was them coming up and saying, hey, this is what I felt. Let's fix it now.
Yeah.
So we saw a lot of growth. I absolutely loved it.
That's great. Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. Just what made this team so special to be part of, and just as assistant coach there as well, Corey.
Yeah. So this group of guys, they hadn't had somebody that really dedicated themselves strictly to hitting or the development stuff like that. So they were really eager to learn. They were really eager to get some kind of insight, talk with them. And now some of the guys have moved on to other positions of taking GA roles or taking being trainers at different facilities and stuff like that. And I still get text messages asking, hey, this is what I got a kid doing, what can I do with him and stuff. So it's pretty awesome. It was awesome making those connections and having guys that were really eager to learn and just really trusting the process. That's the biggest thing I can say is a lot of guys are kind of weary at first with new coaches, and these guys are ready to jump on and and be full swing with it. So it made the transition really easy for me. So I love this group of guys for sure.
That's wonderful. And let's talk about being a recruiting coordinator as well, because you want to bring in the right right mix of talent. Having people on the same page and having that chemistry. Just talk about that component as well, Corey.
Yeah, absolutely. So the biggest thing as a recruiting guy is and I tell every team that I'm a part of, my goal is to replace you, and your goal is, to make it hard for me to replace you.
Mhm.
The biggest thing is we want to find the right guys on the field, but also the right guys in the clubhouse. Guys that, aren't cancers, aren't, detrimental to your clubhouse, or guys that, are great teammates. One of the very first questions I ask kids when I talk to them is, what are three things you're good at? What are three things you're bad at? What that tells me is you're realistic, you're down to earth, and you're able to speak confidently on yourself, which should be the easiest thing. You're with yourself 24/7, and so if you can't say three things you're good at, three things you're bad at, then obviously you need to kind of self reflect and stuff. So that was one of the first questions I ask, and then just kind of just getting to know them and just making sure they're the right kind of fit for whatever our philosophy and our game plan is. So
Yeah.
to kind of go along with it after we find out the personality of the kid.
I'm wondering, just in terms of communicating that, of course, head coaches and, I said the staff as well there. I'm wondering how that, developed as well, in terms of, because I'm sure you have to sift through a number of players, I mean, we talk about, college baseball, I mean, being 24/7, 365. I don't think there's a day off.
Yep.
So I'm wondering for you, how you were able to manage that. I mean, there's just a lot of multitasking there, but just talk about that, Corey.
Yeah. Multitasking is the biggest thing. Being married to the game, maybe
Yeah.
number two. I unfortunately my family and friends kind of take the back burner because they forget that I'm on the ball field or talking with the recruits and
Yeah.
but no, the biggest thing is with the staff is just having a great communication and making sure that you guys are on the same page. I mean, as far as us, we talk to thousands of kids a year, upwards to even higher. We're out at events constantly, so it's like we're practicing, trying to get the team ready, and being able to flip a switch and go, head out and recruit on a weekend or on a weeknight or whatever it may be. So just really managing your time and being able to efficiently understand what needs to be happening in what order. And having a staff that kind of helps out is the biggest thing. So
Yeah.
there's no success, by doing it yourself. You got to have, it's definitely a teamwork, even on the coaching staff. So the biggest thing is just having a clear cut understanding that everybody has a responsibility and everybody has to kind of manage that. As a recruiting coordinator at Kentucky Christian at the Rio Grande, and then helping with Southern Wesleyan. The biggest thing is kind of understanding what position needs, understanding what the team kind of looks like in the future, and really being able to project out what kids talent looks like today and what it could look like in the future for as an incoming freshman all the way to that junior year that you hope they're a key contributor. So all those things kind of all factor into being in that kind of role.
No, I agree. I mean, you have the administration, you have athletic department. I mean, there's so much. I mean, from top to, you need to have that solid structure in place, because if you don't have that, it can quickly, as said, fall into disarray. Corey.
Oh yeah, no, 100%. I mean, that's the biggest thing is it's athletics is a huge part of a lot of universities for being financially structured, sufficient, and and keeping enrollment up. But at the same time, it's a multi-person or multi-group effort of admissions, getting the kids in, academics, keeping the kids eligible, getting them in classes, the coaches, kind of being a leadership role on the field, but also helping them, being an advisor at the same exact time to there's just so many people that factor into these guys, or these kids at the university level, that it has to have great across the board leadership to really make it run efficiently.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm wondering from your perspective, in terms of the recruiting process, how it's changed and evolved over the years. From your take, Corey.
Yeah, so social media has been something that's transformed into a huge factor anymore. Twitter is something that everybody uses anymore. Kids are tweeting out stats, kids are tweeting out video. Coaches are using that as direct messages. Kids are using it as direct messages. So I would say that social media has been the biggest change with COVID and kind of rosters backed up and all that stuff. The transfer portal, unfortunately, a lot of kids weren't able to make it on campus. A lot of kids, kind of what they look like prior to COVID to after COVID, when some kids commit early or, really start looking at schools and stuff, they, a lot more misses, it seems like, to happen. And I actually talked with a friend of mine about this yesterday, and it was like, a lot of kids got in under the limb of what they were, or weren't able to be directly seen. And so, there's a few more misses where now kids are hitting the transfer portal and they're changing levels and, changing schools and stuff just because, they ended up at somewhere that wasn't the correct fit. And, it's just, there's a lot of things that factor into, making sure that you find the right home for your 2 years if you go junior college route, or 4 years for, a university. And it's like, the biggest thing is there's a lot of kids that, have that ambition of being, D1 or bust and all that. They may not have the skill set, or they may get that opportunity and realize, hey, I'm in way over my head. I'm not going to be somebody that, gets to be a contributor for 4 years. So, they kind of look at moving on. So the transfer portal has definitely been the number 2 factor, I would say, after, social media, just because social media is something that continues to grow every day, and kids are using it more and more. But the biggest thing is I still think in the recruiting process, you still got to be able to talk to people. You still got to be able to write an email or a text message, answer the phone. All those things still remain the same. So communication is the number 1 thing that kids have to understand. So no matter what order, what operation you're using to communicate, you got to be able to talk and be able to make connections and build relationships.
Yeah, I agree 100% with you. You have to be the overall complete package. I said you just can't be one-sided, because again, that makes such a immense difference. Said again, if you want to be at a place for 4 years. I'm wondering your experiences at Rio Grande and Kentucky Christian University, how that shaped you, and then from where you started out at Kentucky Christian University now up to this point, just finishing up here at Southern Wesleyan University. Just what comes to your mind? Just how much again, as you've grown into these roles, and just talk about this journey here, Corey.
Yeah, so the biggest thing was when I got into coaching at Kentucky Christian University, I thought I had quite a bit figured out, and I learned quickly. There's a lot to learn.
Yeah.
You know, and that's how baseball is, though. The day that you think you have it figured out, it kind of comes back to show you that, you know, stay humbled or get humbled is my
Yeah.
favorite saying with it. So, you know, I was full of, you know, piss and vinegar very first, and you know, and it kind of, you know,
Yeah.
I kind of learned that there's certain things you can put your energy into, and other things that you kind of just gotta, you know, just let go, just because it's not worth the battles. You know, the biggest thing I learned also is, you know, when I got there is, you know, players aren't any different from the high school to the, you know, little league. All of them
Mhm.
want to enjoy the game. All of them want to have fun. They want to learn. But the biggest thing is they want to be kids as well. So,
Yeah.
you know, it's kind of cool to see. You know, I thought, you know, going into the collegiate level meant that all of a sudden these kids are going to be, you know, something superior to what I had worked with before. And really, it was, you know, the same exact things. They had the same exact questions. They, you know, you would have thought that they would have been away from mom and dad and they were able to do things on their own. They still called mom and dad for a lot of things. And,
Yeah.
you know, and so, you know, so I just kind of learned the, you know, to kind of remain with them and, you know, build those relationships and stuff was still the huge thing. I pride myself in being a player's coach more than anything. So if I can,
Mhm.
you know, if I can be there for them or help them through a process, then that's the best thing I can do. So that's where, you know, at KCU, I was kind of, you know, I hate to say it, but I was kind of the guy that was the enforcer of, you know, rules and, you know, trying to be over the top. And it was like, you know, the more stops I've gotten at, I still want to, you know, have structure and have discipline. But at the
Yeah.
same time, I would rather be able to, you know, if a kid's having a bad day, I want to, you know, walk up and be like, hey man, what's going on? Let's sit down and talk and have that,
Mhm.
you know, relationship with my players and stuff. Where at KCU, I kind of lost that out just because I was so focused on, you know, the you couldn't really have that and stuff. And so, you know, I kind of learned from that. I also, you know, as you go to each process, you kind of learn, or each university, each school, each team that you coach at, you learn things that you like and things you don't like.
Mhm.
And you kind of make that into your own hitting or your own coaching plan and, you know, your own coaching personality and stuff. And so it was like, you know, I took things that I learned there. I took things from the University of Rio Grande. I took things from Southern Wesleyan. And what it's doing is it's helped molding me into the coach that I want to be one day. And, you know, and teaching me what works, what doesn't work, what, you know, what I liked, what I want to teach, you know, going forward, what I don't want to teach going forward. So all those things I think have really helped me, you know, move forward and also make myself into a coach that I'm proud to be one day.
That's fantastic. You know, you have such a unique pathway, you know, towards, you know, I said, coaching in baseball here, especially again at the college and university level. I'm wondering how that all came together at Kentucky Christian University after working, you know, I said several jobs and then being able to land this. I mean, that must, I mean, just talk about, I mean, how exciting that was, you know, when you were able to land that job, you know, there.
Yeah, so I like I said, I coached travel ball from basically when I got out of college, and then I ended up opening up my own travel organization.
Okay.
I partnered with a guy my first year, so we had teams in Florida, Puerto Rico, and the Midwest. And then after that, I kind of broke off on my own, and you know, I kind of learned what worked, what didn't work, and
Hmm.
what I wanted to be as an organization. So I named it Impact Baseball, just because impact kind of meant a special name for me of impacting the kids that I coach and impacting relationships and, you
Okay.
know, impacting, I mean, the life lessons they learn on the field. So I had impact baseball for multiple years until 2021. I also got a coaching job at my old high school and stuff. So I got to kind of be back there. And, you know, after doing that for a year, I was like, you know, my goal was, you know, I had kind of taken a long way into it. I worked in corporate purchasing for Cummins Diesel Engine.
Hmm.
I worked for, Southern Glazers, a beverage company, and then, you know, Frito Lay, Mike Sells, landscaping. I've kind of done a little bit of
Trick
everything,
of all
but the
trades,
only thing
right?
that I look, yeah, exactly, exactly. And so it was like, you know, everything that I looked or everything I did every day, there's one time I looked forward to, and that was 3:30 in the afternoon when baseball started.
Yeah.
And so it was like, you know, so I decided that, you know, I was gonna put all my business world, all my other real jobs, just some people call it, on
Yeah.
hold, and I decided to pursue coaching. And so it was the best move I've ever made. When I talked to Jason Stowers down at, you know, KCU, and he'd just gotten hired about a month earlier, you know, we started talking and he hired me. It was like, you know, that was the first moment that, you know, I was talking with my dad and I was like, hey, I'm actually proud of what I'm doing now. and so since then, everybody knows when you coach baseball, you don't make money, you do it for your love
Yeah.
of the game and love for the kids and stuff. And that's what I can honestly say I'm proud to, continue doing. And it's definitely been the transformation that I wanted. It's been a lot of highs and a lot of lows, and
Yeah.
moving jobs and all that, and finding out that, hey, I get to pack up and move again, and or I get to keep in relation or keep in talk with a lot of kids that I've had before. So like I said, it's a lot of highs and lows, but that first job definitely was a game changer for what I wanted. I'm now doing it almost 4 years. It's exactly, well, no, actually longer than 4 years now.
Yeah.
It's exactly what I thought it would be, plus more. Like, I never thought it'd be what it is. So I love it for sure.
That's super. And what's so impressive that, again, that when you were attending Salem University, the fact that you were able, not only on the athletic side as an announcer of the basketball games, but also you were part of, the president, I think, of the Student Athlete Advisory Committee, Student Government Senator, school chair for Graduate Admission Council. The fact that you were able to, I mean, again, as you talk, you're able to relate to the athletes, on both sides. It's just not about athletics; it's also academics as well. I'm sure, again, that really, played a significant factor in terms of, like, being able to talk to these kids about both roles, Corey.
Yeah, absolutely. So when I was in college, my biggest goal was to, get involved in as many things as possible. So I started out just, getting put on the Student Athletic Advisory Committee, or SAC as it's known.
Mhm.
So basically, I was, I kind of talked between the academic and athletic side of things in the university, and then I they brought up student government, and I kind of liked being in the leadership role. So I was like, hey, I'll definitely do that.
Yeah.
Sure enough, I got promoted up to president of that, and then I'm not afraid to talk in front of anybody, as you can tell here. So I get put on a microphone and get told to
Yeah.
announce every athletic event on campus and everything else. So the biggest thing was, I thought the best thing to do was get involved. It made my
Mhm.
4 years at Salem 10 times better, just because, I tell kids, hey, if you're at a small school and don't like something, do something about it.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what I tried to do. I wanted to I wanted to leave my mark on the university for somebody else that's coming in the future. And so, my goal is what it was when I came in. I wanted to make it better, and I wanted to, build relationships with faculty members, but also the students, and, be a kind of person on both sides. So that way also, as I went into life and, everything else, I could kind of learn how to talk to every range of people, from, people that are involved in, the higher up, Fortune 500 companies, to all the way to the people that, are blue collar people that, make things work in America. So, that was my goal when I got into college, is I didn't care what major you were. I didn't care what your background was. I wanted to learn how to, talk, and I wanted to build a relationship with you. I wanted to get to know you, and I wanted to, know you on a personal basis. And that's what's really helped me as a recruiting coordinator also, is I kind of learned how to, make some kind of connection, either what, or no matter what it was, just to, kind of set ourselves up to, get the best talent possible on the field, but
Yeah.
also the right kind of kid with us. So.
Yeah, no, it's terrific. Hey, just have a couple more left, Corey. Can't thank you enough for the time. I wanted to ask you, especially something popped into my head with COVID. Kids lost a lot of time, after that. I mean, it was hard, especially when you talk about the seniors, whether it be in high school or college. Just talk about, I mean, the resiliency. I mean, you had to deal with it as well, and, like, other kids. Just talk about that.
Yeah, no. The kids that made it through COVID and made it through homeschool and, internet school and all these other
Mhm.
things, I give them the most credit in the world. I couldn't do it. I mean, as you can hear by everything I've done in the past and all the different positions I held, I don't
Yeah,
sit still well.
yeah.
So when it comes to, sitting at a computer, having to sit down and, do strictly your work without
Yeah.
having, or being able to go hang out with, friends, family, all these things, I give kids credit that made
Yeah.
it through. The only thing it really showed the kids that were dedicated, the kids that found ways to work out, found ways to get the reps in, kind of kept active with it. as a recruiting guy, as a guy that's kind of been in multiple different states, that was a time that I watched a lot of kids turn their back on the athletics that they were a part of. They decided, or they went out and found other things, and kind of gave up baseball, gave up whatever else it was. We had some kids that were committed, and they decided to hang it up because they found out that baseball wasn't everything. And then we had other kids that were dying to get on campus because they found out baseball was, everything.
Yeah.
COVID definitely changed the recruiting process as well for a lot of kids. It created that backlog, like I talked about earlier, but it also, made it a lot harder for kids, or kids and coaches to kind of connect, kids to get on campus and see, schools and make sure they're finding the right fit. And it's also a lot harder for coaches to get out and see kids to make sure they're finding the right fit.
Yeah.
Seeing face to face, talks and all those things really matter a lot more, and kind of transpire into making sure that what the kid's going to be like when he's on campus with you, how well he can talk with coaches, professors, everybody else around the school, how they act, how they interact with mom and dad, if they treat them with respect. All those things matter. And so COVID really kind of threw a wrench in that as well.
Yeah.
So like I said, I think it'll take a few years and it'll start to kind of way back out and kind of even out a little bit. But COVID was a thing that definitely made the baseball process a lot harder on a lot of kids. But the kids that made it through, I can tell you, they've accomplished something that they should be proud of for sure. Because I mean, like I said, a lot of people, I can say me as being one of them, I don't know how well I could make it. So
Yeah.
but
That's true. Hey, you talked about the love of the game for baseball. I'm just wondering, any other things that stand out, whether it's a practice or during the course of a game, that you just sit there and you just in awe, like, say, wow, I mean, you've been doing it for a long time, in terms of
yeah.
coaching, but just some of the tendencies that stand out to you, Corey.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you look at my Twitter, like I try to, help out guys that I coach as much as possible.
Yeah.
Some of the guys are now in the college summer league that I'm coaching up here. Some of the best things for me, outside of game time is, when I get to see those guys, make it to their dream school or make it to the level. I helped a couple of kids get to, with my travel organization, we had 8 guys sign at different varying levels. So, getting those calls, getting invited to the signing, ceremonies, whatever it may be, talking to them, down the road of how things are going, those are the things that I love. I tell every kid that I coach, my goal is for you to call me 10 years down the line and say, hey, I'm getting married once you're here, or, hey, I had my first kid, here's a picture, all this stuff, and just, keeping me up to date. In your life and stuff. That's the things that really stand out to me that I love more than anything. That I built some kind of relationship with them that they want to take for a lifetime. As far as on the field and practice, seeing that light bulb click when things start to work out for kids. It's like that aha, like, hey, there it is, moments. Some of the kids have never heard some of the things that we try to put together or try to do as a staff or try to do as a program. And so it's like once it finally clicks and it starts working and they see the results, that's exciting for me. In game, I love to see success. I also love to see when it's like, hey, when I make that mistake, I see the growth of, the guy that instead of being, down and throwing his glove and all that stuff, he taps his chest and says, that's on me. I'll make the next one for you. And just sees personal growth. I mean, baseball's full of life lessons. Baseball's full of, a lot of different things. That's why it's the greatest game in the world. That's why I love it so much and dedicated my life to it and stuff. And, so the biggest thing is just understanding seeing the growth in guys and seeing, who they were as a young, freshman to who they are as a senior, or even guys that were a senior this year to seeing who they were at the end of the year. One of the kids I had this year, he came up and gave me a hug on senior day and he said, thank you. And he said, I felt more growth and felt like I made strides in the right way of who I want to be next year when I'm out of school, this year. And, so just seeing those guys, just makes what I do so much better.
Yeah.
100%. So.
Yeah, no, that's fabulous. Hey, you talked about family before, and you talk about, I mean, it's a grind. I said a lot of time spent away. Just talk about, what they've meant to you here and just in terms of support, throughout this journey, Corey.
Oh yeah. So my dad's my biggest supporter. Growing up, I can name 5 games that he's ever missed, which is pretty awesome to have. He made my first college game, all that stuff. I gave him my first ever, game ball that I got, recording the last out and stuff. So
Mhm.
that still sits on his dresser at home. So my dad's been my biggest role model, my biggest supporter. My dad was a business guy, was one of the higher up people at Cummins and all this stuff. And so when I told him that, hey, I'm going to pursue something other than the business world and all this stuff, it was like, at first he was a little weary. He's worried about all the things that every parent worries about. But overall, I mean, he watches every game on live stream, and he sits there and sees me walking to third base coach's box, or sees me at the dugout and during the game he texts me and all this stuff. So even if he's not there, just because where I'm originally from is about 8 hours away from where I coached this year and stuff, he's checking in every game and texts me on stuff. My aunt, uncle, they came in, my sisters have all checked up on me, all this stuff. So I mean, even though I don't get to talk to them as much or see them in person as much, every single one of them, stands behind. And if you don't have family or the right kind of support with you, then it makes it definitely a lot harder, especially living in areas that when you moved to originally, you don't know anybody. And, so I definitely couldn't do it without them. They mean the world to me. And that's why as soon as I had an off weekend this weekend, I packed up and I'm up here excited to see them all this weekend. So
That's fabulous. That's great. Hey, Corey, before you get the last word, I was wondering what your advice, your message would be, to those younger kids out there, athletes, but also people who are trying to break into the coaching ranks as well. I mean, it said you definitely have to pay your dues, but in order to move up the ladder. But just what would you say to them out there?
yeah, so if this is your dream, you can't be afraid of no. I've been told no more times than I've ever could imagine. I've been told no on jobs, on recruits, on ideas, on all kinds of things. And if that's something that terrifies you or turns you away, then this isn't the profession for you. If this is your dream, if this is your goal, you got to be persistent. You can't turn your back on it. You got to have dedication and hard work, and understand that one day you're going to make it. The biggest thing is if this is your dream also, I have a lot of kids that tell me that, hey, I want to go play ball, and I get an offer 10 hours away from home, and they'd say, yeah, no. It's like, well, I hate it that that school is not closer to home, but if this is your goal or this is your dream, then sometimes it takes you a little bit away. You got to be willing to go wherever it is, and achieve that. Sometimes you get to transfer back, sometimes you get a new job back close, but if this is your goal, then there's no place too far, there's no place for too little pay. You find ways to work, to make it work and stuff. And so the biggest thing is be dedicated and make it your dream and your goal. And don't be afraid of no. That's the biggest thing.
Great. Okay, Corey, you get the last word here. Just message, said for family, friends, former, said athletes, coaches, colleges, universities. I give you the floor, Corey.
Yeah. No, the biggest thing is, like I said, friends, family. I couldn't do it without them. I love the people that's in my life. I love what I do. Each job that I've had, each school that I've had has taught me a lot of lessons, from the guy that I was back in college to now. I don't think anybody would have thought I would be what I'm doing or who I am today. I actually think my old athletic director told me that the other day that he was proud of me and never thought that this is who I'd be. So without them, I couldn't be here. I love what I do. I love talking to people. So anybody that has questions always can feel free to reach out. I may be a little bit slow, but I couldn't do it without this game, and without everybody that's in support, and especially without what I had the goal to do. And so I'm excited to see where I end up next, like I said. And I can't wait to continue making relationships and seeing players, family, and friends all grow. So.
Well said. Hey, Corey, just an incredible honor and privilege being able to interview you. Thank you so much. And again, congrats on your success. And again, wishing you all the best, in your next position.
Absolutely. I appreciate it a ton, like I said, and I love connecting with you. And, once again, social media brings another connection in. And, I appreciate you bringing me on, and hopefully we get to do this again sometime.
Thank you.